Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
Let's talk a little about write. We talk about technical rule as a user update rule. Basically, if you come back to technical rule and user, what is the requirement of a technical rule? As we discussed, right? If you have, let's say here, your save and reside right, and this is your saving tool. And if the HR, right, they just onboarded some of the users. Let's say they have already user, and as you know, let's say today they onboarded 2 to 3 user. I'll consider the user, like XYZ, Pico R, and some of the user they onboarded. As a part of our user import, those user gonna come to your saving trade. We call it as a user input. We call write as you discussed. I'm just repeating the statements that we never forget the things. It is like user import, or people used to call it as a trusted recon write. And some of the terms they used to call it as a authoritative source. Through authoritative source, these user as getting onboarded to your saving trade. Once, like in the time of onboarding the user, right, they have certain thing like this would get a by default access to the some of the systems. Let's say if people like these guys are joining any company, you should by default get access to Outlook, right? This is a basic ethics, when anybody joined the company, they should get access to and like Outlook or your time set application to fill the time set your company portal, right, where you're going to view your sum of the company information. How these access are given by default, right? It's given a default thing. And that default access it is given to the users through the technical rule. We set up a technical rule yesterday, right, based on some certain condition. Technical rule always works on a condition basis. Let's say sometime in the real time, what will happen? You might have seen two kind of employee who are coming to your organization, right? Some of them will be contractor, right? And some of them will be your employee. Those information, right, contractor and employee based on their, staging is, we are going to give them access to separate system. That time, right? How would first you know that this person is a contractor or employee, right? You will have a property or an attribute called like, employee type. This employee type, right, it is going to tell you that whoever you are onboarding this XYZ or PQE user, it's a contractor or employee, right? These condition, I can write it up in my technical rule. In the technical rule, I can write the condition that right. When it see this employee type is a employee or contractor, and based on that it will try to give access to the target system. Something you should notice, right? When I am running the user update rule, the moment it is running the user update rule, right, it is seeking in the background, right, which attribute of mine is matching with what condition. Basically, In what I mean, if I am passing a user information, let's say this user, recently it got converted to Saviynt. Sorry to the HMS application, this XYZ right. I'm passing the first name. I'm passing the last name. I'm passing the CT. And based on the CT attribute, I'm trying to, accommodate with the technical rule. I will say if a person's CT is like some CTC, he should get access to DB application. If a person's CT is like a BBS, he should get access to Active Directory application. I'm just giving an example, right? The import rule, user import job, I have run right. The moment I run that right, that is a background job. It is called write catered rule run job. These rule run job, it is deployed right in your safe and it run automatically background unless you check the check rule. That is a button called check rule. ISO divester right. If the check rule button is checked and your both right is already, checked. These two things right. It'll check what attribute of mine right. It is matching with the technical rule. It will go in your system. It will try to find out each and every technical rule. Suppose I have 5 technical rule. All the 5 technical rule right. First it will go to see right. Whether my condition is matching here or not. Again it will go to another technical rule. It will see whether this condition is within matching with me or not. It traverse, one by one all the technical rule once it's found the matching technical rules, and it will trigger to try to trigger that we have configured right. Let's have a look into that. Just go to the admin. In the admin, click on the identity repository. Sorry, in your policy and go to technical rule. Here we configure this technical rule right if you open it. What condition I have given here? It's a normal, simple condition. If it uses CT equal to CTC right, he should get access to the database training safe. That is the account. His account will get created. Along with that, I'm also mentioning, this database application of HR type, that is your entitlement type. Under that, what entitlement I'm trying to assign, that is the people HR. These entitlement I'm trying to assign to the user. And here I marked as a birthright unless you mark it as a birthright right. It is never going to peak on the day 1. There is a purpose right. Why I should mark technical? See this technical rule as a birthright. I'll come to that part as well. Right? If you don't mark it as a birthright for sure, it is not going to peak all user on the day 1. That means when the users are getting onward from here to here, it is not going to evaluate if I do not mark it as a birthright. There is a other purpose. Why that birthright checkbox is there, right? Because without birthright also we can run a technical rule. Without birthright we can run a technical rule, but that is used to write. Run through other scenario. What I mean, this technical rule right. This technical rule. I can run through other media. What is that? Other media? Right. I'll talk about that today. It's like grow a user update rule. Also, I can trigger a technical rule. That I'll show you. After we discuss about the user update rule, what user update rule means. Now I think we are pretty much clear about the technical rule, right? This database training, see first it is an account right. And after that in the second, if you see, I simply type as a database training, see first. You are seeing this is an account right. And under that, if you see there is a double colon, it is an HR right. Basically, this HR is an entitlement type. What is it? Entitlement type. Basically, it's a group. That group it is containing one or more entitlement. Under that, if you select that right after that, you will see this HR group. It's containing two entitlement. One is people. Let me show you it has another entitlement also, right. Let me just open the security system. Go to admin, click this dot, go to the identity repository, go to security system. And let me open that our security system database training safe. Go to endpoint, click on the end, database training safe. Click on this entitlement type. Here we are viewing the HR, right. To click on the H. This HR entitlement type, it is containing one or more entitlement. That is floor HR and people HR. If you simply go type flow, you can see this flow HSR. These are the nothing but your entitlement. Now let's talk about user update rule. How this user update rule is going to work and what does the user can say at the end. User update rule. You have seen many times, right? This user, like if this is your HR database, I'm bringing day to day versus users. These users are getting onboarded to your Saviynt system through the user input, right? Once your user over here, right? Based on certain condition, right? They're getting access to different target system. Let's say this is my DB training, CF, and I have another system. This is called Active Directory. Let's say this XYZ user, right? She got married. And as usual, her surname got changed. Now she has a different surname. She just informed the MS team, right? I need to update my surname. What will happen that time, right? This HRMS team, whoever is there, they will update this XYZ surname to a different value, that new value, right? Once it is updated through the user input as it is usual, right? It got updated. It will traverse through your Saviynt system. And this XYZ got a new value of the like. Her last name is changed. There is a thumb rule in your Saviynt or it is in every place, right? Your email ID is always generated based on your first name, dot, last name and appending some number if the name is not available. And at the rate, some value like Gmail come. Right? It is already generated for you as your last name is getting updated here. Right? The value of your last name also should change in your email address. Right? It should change. And also the email ID which is residing in your target application. Also, this value should be get updated. Right? These information, right? What your value is getting changed here, right? We should have a setup called your user update rule. These user update rule always check if any update come for the user, right? It will try to, run the user update rule and in that user update rule, right? Based on condition, it will try to send your data or the information to your target system or your target application. You can settle the user update rule, right? Time to time it should run. It is already there. It did not to be settled once it identify, right? Your any changes it is bringing back, right? It will try to update it. Again, behind this user update rule, also your rule run job is there. Basically for your technical rule, for your user update rule, and whatever ending with the rule. The concept is background your rule run job is there. This rule run job, right? It always check the rule condition whenever any data is coming. It will try to run in the background and see what changes you are bringing back to Saviynt. And if found any new changes immediately based on your matching criteria, the user update rule will trigger. And it will try to give access to the database turning shape. Let me find account who is already present in your Saviynt. And will try to give access to that application or to that user to our application. This is our application database turning shape, right? If I go to accounts, we have certain user here, right? Now we are going to give access to a new user. That is something you got a request, right? You know from one of the user, I need access to this application. Pause here, that is not a birthright, right? Manually, you are going to assign that account to the user. Sometime also, right? What happened? Let's say this is your HRMS job run, right? From the HRMS through the user input, this user are coming to your Saviynt. Let's say while passing this information, HR did a mistake and they forgot to update some of the mandatory attributes which is required to regard the technical rule. That time, what would happen if the new user is coming to here, right? For sale, the technical rule wouldn't be triggered for the user. That time, user will not have any access. How this is going to work again, right? You will get an IDC ticket or a production ticket saying that this new user, let's say you know this, Kevin, the user didn't get any access. It is not triggered for him and he's not able to perform the task. You have to go and check, right? Why the thing? The technical rule didn't trigger for him and you identified there is a mandatory attribute or attribute value is missing. That is why the technical rule is not triggered. Let's say as per our condition, we have given CT value equal to CTC, right? If that is there, the technical rules should trigger. What the HR write? They missed out to fill the value and the CT is empty for this user. New user, and when this new user is coming to your Saviynt, right? It got created here, but technical didn't trigger for him. What will happen? He won't get any access in the target system. That time what you're going to do, right? You'd have a dealer distribution list or any other media, right? You should get notified to the HR system or you can inform the employee that your some CT value is missing. That is why the technical rule is not triggered. That user, right? He might need to raise to the HRSMT or however it is possible, right? The HR will again updated the CT value of the user and those user data again. It will come to here, right? But once the data come here, right? It is not again a birthright, right? The user is already present here. What will happen? The technical rule is not going to trigger now. It won't trigger because as for the policy, technical rule always triggered on the day one itself. That is your 0-day provision. You called it or it's a birthright. Basically on the first day, only the technical rule used to trigger. What will happen now? You have to accommodate that with your user update rule. You got an update from the user. You have to trigger a user update rule. But always remember there is a two bigger difference between your technical rule and update rule technical rule and user update rule. Through the user update rule, you can send some update. You can enable, you can disable something. Or you can update something. You can, disable something, but you cannot keep a new thing. Understand? Try to understand. You cannot create a new account through the user update rule. Purpose is, the name itself, it is an user update. That means you can send some update to the user. The update might be enabled or disabled or like an update. This task you can do. Creation of new thing. If you want to create a new account or you want to assign an entitlement. That will happen only through the technical rule. If this user received a new update now, which city was missing because of that, he didn't get any technical rule, right? It was not triggered for him. Then how will accommodate for that user? For that user, we have to write a user update rule. This user update rule will call your technical rule. This user update rule, it will call the technical rule and technical rule. Now it will trigger the count and entitlement task for the user. That is a two thing, right? If you are sending any password update, right, you have a managed password option. And for that you have a change password of JSON also you have. This change password JSON, right, it is trigger if you change your password. Basically if you go to the previous session, right, we discuss about the connection, right. In the connection you have a specific thing, right, for password. A password, it will be handled in a different way, not the same way, right. Password never set by your default password will always come from the user input, but they won't be setting the real-time password for you. The password, it is you only, right? Who will be setting up in your saving system, right? Or in the SSO page. Whenever you receive that time you are going to set your own password. That password, it is going to flow through the change passwordization. Right? Because your purpose is not to log into Saviynt. You as an admin person, you have to log in. But what about the end user who are, working for the company? They are not interested in Saviynt at all, or OIM or Cellpoint, because their target is to work in the Fargate application. As an admin person, you are managing this too, right? To manage the employee lifecycle or the contractor lifecycle. End user, as always, they're interested in your target application. They have been hired for this purpose, right? If they will be going to this application or this your Saviynt, it is, protected by a different system. You would have heard right. Your access manager who is giving your SSO service. That is a totally different concept, right? And there you have to enter your username, password, and you will be resetting your password for the, storing of your password and everything. You have a different LDAP system might be, and that LDAP will be storing your password. And once you reset it, it will be traveled to your LDAP. And LDAP again through a recon, he will push your password to your Saviynt system. And Saviynt will receive that password. And again Saviynt write. In the update user system, if you have set up the password, it will send to you all across the system because your password should be matched in all the cases. That is how it works in a different scenario or system. We are in the user update rule. Basically, this user update rule, always remember, it is only for your update purpose. You can enable account, you can disable the account, You can update the account, but you cannot create an account through the user update rule because the job is segregated already. The create part, it is always given to your technical rule, and your update part, it is given to your update. Whenever you receive an request write, you know my account is not present in database. Running CL, what does it mean? It's not present means you have to create a new account, right? That time you have to refer. You cannot run directly the technical rule. It doesn't have capability to run in the second day. It cannot trigger. To trigger the technical rule, you will say update user rule. Go and pick my desired technical rule and run it. Then technical rule will get triggered. Let's see how we are going to, achieve the thing. I'll pick a user before that. Let me check. Let me open the database first. Even here also. I think this is our data analyzer, not here. That's why I have to go back to your database. There is an optional data analyzer you have in your UI itself that you know. From there you can run the query and you can see that it's exactly a replica of your, my skill workbench. There, all the table information will be viewed there and you can work there. Go to the schema and our import where we are keeping the account. This is the DB account, right? If you select this, we have this much of the record. Let's try to provision a new user. This user doesn't have any account. Right click this user. Right. Now for this user, we'll be assigning the database training CF account to this user. How we are going to achieve it? Let's open a technical result with it. Right click, make it as a duplicate and click the user of the tool. We have the user of the tool here, right? Let's write a user of the tool. Let me disable whatever old is there. I created a user of the tool first. Create user of the tool. I'll give some name right now. Database. Trigger CF, some name I'll give. Here, in the current version, you see there is 2 option will be 3 option will be there. Trigger user trigger when the user is updated from UI, and another option you'll have trigger user when the update is happened from the import. Always choose the UI because from the UI here only we are trying to update the user. Leave it like that. And scroll down. You see this is the object is always user, right? User, you can mention user username. First thing, I'll give a condition equal. What the username should be. The username should be equal to. This is your username, right? Username equal to is, and you have to add one more condition. Condition here, some other condition. Let's say I'll give custom property first. Is it why I required 2 condition here? Because let's say you have write this condition right, and you achieve your purpose. You achieve the purpose and the account is created. If you forgot to remove this value, let's say after work you just leave it like that. You didn't, like you didn't get time to remove this. It will try to always check the user operator in the backend, and the check run rule job will always run. And that will, take all your memory, right? Because the condition will be always match if username equal to this, because it's always true, right? It's not false again and again. You can try to check in the backend, right? But all the time it will find right in. The user has already account. That's why it is not going to trigger, but it will always try to check in the backend. That is a bad way of implementing your user update rule. Always you should give two conditions. The first condition, right? My username is matching, and whenever I will try to update the user of any custom property value, some value I'll update. If I write some value here, that means I'm updating this custom property 47. That I'm telling here, if username equal to this and user custom property 47 is updated, then what it will do? It will call the technical rule. Read and select the technical rule. What selected technical rule? I'm writing right. Here I have the technical rule, that is CT, see birth rate. I'll be telling trigger this birth rate rule. Type here CTC birth rate. This came right. Now you can click on send for approval. The update rule is ready now. If I update the user right for this user custom property 47, right? This user update rule, it will call that this. Sorry this, once I run this update rule, user will trigger and it will call the selected technical rule. If you go to the technical rule rate, what technical rule will you mention to call it? This CC birth rate. If you go here, right, it has again another condition. Right. What condition it is telling? If user city equal to CTC, then only it will assign this account rate. To trigger the technical rule again, we have to go to the user right and go to the first tab, use the details. Come back to the city right. The city is different now, right? It won't trigger for the user. You have to change the value to CTC, make it as a CTC and update it. Once you update it right now, it is our technical rule ready to be triggered. What you can do, simple go to the other attribute, right? And in the custom properties of 47, write some value as for your choice, but it is always the best practice, right? If some your other team look at the user what you have done right, you can simple mention some meaningful comment, right? Say to assign DV accounts. And update it. It will try to run the rule run job, or you check on job right in the back end, and it will try to assign the sorry. It will generate a task for you now, as is in right. Whenever your rule is triggering right, it will trigger it fast for you. Let's go to the areas right. And here, ideally it should update the update history, but I don't know why it is not up to you. Now it up to rate. You see the change. Look what happened. Right. I updated the CTV value to CTC right after that. It is showing the custom property for 47 is updated. What is the new value to us and DV account rate? And what is the rule run happen database training? See, database triggers here. This rule, it ran right. This is your user update rule. This user update rule, it has triggered right in the backend. It would have triggered the CTC birthright. If this is triggered successfully, right, it will have generated a class for me for the provisioning of my account. What you can do, copy the username. Go to your pending task now, right? And go to task in the pending. Enter the username. Now you see it has generated fast to task basically. One is for our new account. One is for our access. Right. This access is for the people HR. If you go to the technical rule, what do you see? We are first telling to generate an account as for the user and entitlement tasks also for the user. These two tasks have been generated. Now simple. You can provision this task. How you are going to provision? Same here, go to your admin menu. Control admin. Right. You are in the job control panel. Go to the job control panel and click on the job control panel. Right. Go to the utility and scroll down. You see, this is your provisioning job, right? There is no job because we deleted everything yesterday. Click on the Our New Job. Once you click on the Our New Job, right, you have to give a job name. Just give any name which is convenient for you. I'll give DB. Submit. Now again click here. Go to Action. Click on Start. And here. You can either give the database training here and it asks to run as usual. Right. New account. You add access. Also, you can accommodate with the advanced option, right? If you go to advanced option, directly you can run your only two tasks. This task ID and give the task ID, it should run. We'll see that how you can write it. Now go to the basic. Database training here. Your task type is new account and add access. Submit it. The job is running. Let's open the application log side by side. All, it is the debug log, right, without any name. You have many name if you go back. Debug one light. It should always choose the debug log, this log, and give 1000 line. Keep it ready and let's see. This is obviously not the right. Let's finish right. Simply go to here and get the log. Once you get the log right, go to the down. To see the current log, as usual you see. This was killed at 2. Stealing the GUST try job ended. Check where this was going to job started. If you see it has processed Toto to record rate. This cost error 2. That is your basic job. That is the best try job. It has called a multiple try multi-provisioning job. That is a cost lottery where I started, right? If you go down, up, 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 you see. Somewhere it start here. Multiple provisioning job execution start. The job started here, write it probably. And what information you see if you scroll down. See here. It is giving the connection name. Create account DB, it is trying to create the account. Connection name is this one, right? It is telling connection successfully created. Right. What is the create account thing? It is picking up your JSON. This is your DB.json. Right. And it is telling creating account in the DB. After that, it said this query over here. And it is trying to traverse the 3 and some of the code it is executing. This is like, this is an add access query. It is finally giving the add access query. What query it is there, right? And if you scroll down, you'll see a lot of information here. Basically, it is trying to processing the task 941. Right? What does your pending task 941 write? For account on 942, it is for add access. That means it is giving your processing task 941, completing task 941. And it is successfully done. That is where it is done. Same way it has given for completing task 942 also done. If you scroll down the final status, what you see? Final status of the task 942 is 3. 3 means it is always completed. Is penned? 3 is it is completed. Now your task is completed. While in the ending it is total record process 2. It processed 2 tasks, right? If you go back to pending task, right? The username is there, just refresh it. And you see. The queue is gone from the pending task. Now it would have resided in your completed task. Go to the task and click on the complete task, right? Search by user, just give the username. And you see. Click on the creation date, right? This 2 top thing, right? It is for your task only. The new account and the add access got completed. Now copy this username from here again. And go to the user. The user is already open, right? Just refresh it or after that go to the account tab and you see the update I was telling the account is reflecting here. Click on this account, right? And go to associated entitlement. And you see the entitlement is provisioned to here, right? The same information, right? You can also view. Under your endpoint, right? If you go to your endpoint, right again, go to the account, right? Or refresh it. Go to the account. You can see it will be reflecting here. That is there. Basically, the custom property has a biggest role. What I'll say. Let's say if you go to any user, right? Go back to the user, right? In the first phase, you see username, display name, first name, last name, organization name, phone number, street, state, city, country, email, right? Manager, employee, type, start date, right? You have a lot of information. Imagine you are receiving a new attribute. That attribute doesn't match with any of the name. Because in your target application, if you are integrating SAP application or your Active Directory application, you see a number of attribute, right? Where the attribute name itself is different. Let's say you are receiving a value from the Active Directory. The name itself, it is like object GWide. That time, with which attribute you will be mapping here. You cannot map with display name or username, right? It has already purpose. This field already being used. You cannot accommodate with any of the attribute here, right? That will make it confused. That time simple. You can go to the other attribute, right? You have a lot of custom property, right? This custom property, you can leverage it. Ideally, in the real time, all the custom attribute will be using for a different purpose. You can give this custom property 61 to your Active Directory, object gvoid. That the object gvoid. It will come and sit here if you are going for a user import for the Active Directory, right? This custom property it leverages to your users only. And in account also, you have a number of custom properties. In entitlement also, you have a number of custom property. Basically, the custom worded is given, right? It is up to you what custom property you can use. In the first part they restricted, they said, boss, this username is attribute is for user. Even you can rename this attribute, not an issue. But if you rename, it will be renamed in the label, not the exact column value. Column value backend, it will be same, but your name will be changed here, right? That thing, right? You can accommodate with the custom property. If you are assuming any new attribute, right? That attribute you can use in the other attribute. Custom property, one up to any custom property. You can leverage it. Let's say if you want to try or perform some dynamic attribute changes, right? Where you want to store some value or you can run any purpose. That time you can simply pick any custom property. Or if you want, write in the nobody should use this custom property. You can simply rename this custom property. The custom property will be renamed to ask for your choice. For renaming, there is two ways. You can rename from the UI or from the backend and the message.properties file. But nowadays, Saviynt doesn't allow you to the backend access. You should have zero access to the backend. You would have performed from the UI. I'll show you that. But I believe this version actually have a problem. It might not reflect. But we'll see right how it is reflecting or not. That is the purpose. We are using the custom property. It is given to you. You can utilize it. You can rename it as per your choice and you can use it. Because in real time we'll be not receiving like sometime. You might receive 60-70 attribute right from the target system or from the user inputs. It might be possible based on the application to application. That time you have to leverage this custom property if you do not find any suitable attribute for you. Now let's try to jump to another topic. Right as you're done with the user of the tool and technical rule. We saw a user here, right? This user, right? This user is got onboarded to your Saviynt, right? While coming to your Saviynt, before that you have a technical rule, right? This technical rule, you have given a condition if my CT equal to CTZ. It will automatically have access to database training save application. But while this user is getting onboarded to Saviynt, it's right. They forgot to update your city value or they have given a wrong city value to you, that is BBS. And with this city, value your first name, last name, or the value. If this user is traversing to your Saviynt, right, this technical rule is not going to trigger. Because it's here the technical is not satisfying the condition, it has a different value. Or if that is a spelling mistake, also right. Some spelling mistake that it. And that time the technical rule won't be triggered for you. Technical rule if it is marked as a birthright, right? It will pick in the day one itself. And after that the technical rule is not going to. It is designing the same way, right? If any new user value is coming, it will try to trigger. Or else, if you still second day, if you give some update also, the technical load is not going to trigger. It won't be triggered actually. That is why we have to leverage the user update rule. There is a purpose right. A technical rule means birthright. You are a new user coming, and if you are taking some update or bringing some update, that means it is called as an update, not a new right. That update part, it will be taken care by your update user. User update rule. Let me show you that thing as well. If I go to technical rule, I have the CTC birthright rule, right? I have a CTC user is there. The condition is CTC. Let me bring a new user. I'll show you in the real-time import user. This is our table. And let me scroll a little down. Let me give some ID here. And I'll name some, give some name here. I'll give the status case 1. We are all ready. Generating the email, right? Purposefully, I'll give a different city here. And I'll simply click on that. This user has a city BBS. Now let me go back and run my imp. Go to the database, user input complete from the database. Go to action, click start. Give you connection name here. And submit. Let's give it a minute to the job and let it run. Now it is finished. If you go back to you can also see here, right? Just click it here. Click the job name. Last is success. Click on here. It said total user update is 7 and total user inserted is 1. New one user got inserted. Go to the show user. Click on the user. Copy username. Hit enter. The user onboarded right with the email ID. If you go to account, it doesn't have any account right now. Again, I'll go back here. I'll change the city to city. Click on apply and finish. Now come back again. Go to your job. And run the job again. Submit it. Click again on the job and you'll see all the updated tasks. Total user updated 8 and insert 0. Now go back to the user. I refresh the user. Right. You see the CTC is CT, right? Go to the update history. Now the changes is coming through the user input. That's why you will see here always admin. One thing you should remember, if you see updated by admin, that means it always come from your target system or the trusted system. It is not being done manually. if I change anything manually here. Now I have login as an admin user. In the real time, you don't get access to the admin user. You will have a user with your username. If you changes anything to the user or you updated anything in the user, right, those information will get captured. It will be written here right with your XID. It is updated by admin. That means it came from either from your import right from the user input or the target. A city got changed, right? But you didn't see any rule trigger here, right? It didn't trigger any rule. Because it's not a part of your update. User rule right. Refresh it and go to update task. You don't see anything, right? If you also go to the pending task, copy the user ID and go to your pending task. Click on the pending task, right? Do you see any pending task? No, right? It didn't trigger anything for you because you bring an update. Update never tell you to run to your technical rule. But if you would have set up a update user rule right, which matches your condition, that time it would have import for you. Now you got the thing right. What is the difference between you know how this technical rule works and how this user will write right? If you create a new record here, right? Let me give a new user with the CTC and see what happened. If I give another user right, with some different ID I am trying to onboard, I'll give some ANL and ANL status 1 and I'll give CTC. It is finished now. Let's go and run the job. Go to the job history. Go to your job. Click action. Give you connection name. Sub. A little bit the job to finish. Just expand it and see it what happened. Open the job. You knew is an inserted one, right? What is the username we give? User right. Go to the user. This is user right if I go to the pending task right. See, it generated the pending task for me, right? This task if I provision through the W3 try job right, you will get an account. For provisioning part right, you were just importing the thing, as I said. Once your import happened, the user will come to save it. Along with that, the technical rule it trigger. Technical rule is just to evaluate your condition at. It will generate a task for you basically. How the system works, right? There is two things. Basically, we'll be talking about here like First is user import right. What is the job of user import right? And again, once the import happened right, there is another thing also residing W3 try job. How the things is working. Let me show you. Let's say today the HR people write in the HRMS database. They updated or they created a new user. The less new username is Kevin. This user got created here. We have already set up a user import job, right? That is why the user is coming to your Saviynt. This is your Saviynt system. The user came here through the user import right. As I said, the user import job is set right in the user update user import. I have mentioned two things, right? Sake rule equal to true. 0-day provisioning equal to true. That means when the user is traversing from your HMN system to Saviynt, right, through the user import job, in between I have mentioned sake rule is equal to true. That means while the user is coming on the way, ruler run job will stop this user for a second and it will try to examine and evaluate what attribute is matching with what technical rule. If I have many technical rules, one by one, it will check and it will match. And once it fits, find the match case right, it will try to fit the technical rule. Once the technical rule is fit right, and it found that I have technical rule whose name is called or DB training CF, and the user CT is CT. And in my technical rule also the condition is user CT equal to CT. That means this technical rule is matching for me. And what action given in the technical rule? Create account for the user in DB training CF. Assign and one entitlement right. Are these two things I am talking and telling to the technical to do. But always remember, technical rule doesn't have capability to provision the user in the target system. If your target system is DB training CF, it cannot create your account here. It doesn't have that capability. The capability of your rule right. Any rule, whether it is your technical rule or user update rule. The capacity is best. It will give you a generated task for you because in the backend you have the code and once the true. It will try to create a count task, it will trigger, or it will try to accommodate that it will generate a task for you. One task is for your new account. Another task is for your add access. Once the task is generated, always remember, for provisioning, right? For creating account or updating account, for enabling account, for disabling account, from Saviynt to your target application, you have a specific job. That job name is BOS Retry. The name itself is ABOS Retry job. This job always look in your pending task queue. It will go and look in the pending task queue. Whatever task is present, right, it will try to process them. But you have to mention also here, right, in the ABOS Retry, what kind of task I should process. You might have, thousands of tasks of database or LDAP. I should mention to this BOS Retry job was go and pick only DB task. B training CF. It will go and check in your pending task queue, right? And it will see what is your security system and endpoint based on the endpoint, right? If it found the endpoint name is DB, it will process those tasks, right? Once it's processed, and your account will get created in your DB training CF. You will get a new account here as well as a add access task that is for entitlement also. You get create here. The job, it is driven by your BOS Retry job. Two things. I'll say three things, right? If this is your Saviynt system, the thumb rule is from Saviynt. You want to send any information to the target application, any information, right, to your target system, irrespective of the target system, whether it is your DLDB or like your database or REST application. Anything that will be carried out by your BOS Retry job, right? If this is your target system, let's say AD or database. Somebody directly went ahead and create some record here, or you are integrating old legacy application. If you want to bring back those information to here, right, that will be driven by your again application data import job. And we used to call it as a Paragate recon, and in the other name we used to call it as a non-authoritative. This is one funder you have, right? If you want to send from Saviynt to here, you have to always refer the job that is BOS retry job. This is specific and it is applicable for all your target system. Sometime also, you have to manually also process in your real-time work also, right? If something is error out, you have to clear the error and you have to process it manually. That is also there. Everything should be automated. As this is a Saviynt tool, write your lifecycle management. Nothing manual should here, but at least 5% manual of every day you have to do. Sometime if the task is error out or the threshold value is more. You have mentioned, like you know it shouldn't, let's say in your organization, you have mentioned. At a time, more than 10,000 terminated tasks wouldn't be processed. Suppose HMS owner, who is there mystically? Right. Sleepingly, he mentioned 5,000 tasks as terminated. What will happen? All the user will get terminated in Saviynt. Right. You can put a threshold over there that it won't process at all, actually beyond the threshold value. If it is more than that also right. It is there. You can also do the manual thing there and end up in there. Here you would trusted target reconciliation or through the application data import or through the non-intuitive source. You are bringing back those information to Saviynt for a purpose, right? And from your HMS application or VR, resembling the DB here, if you want to bring back the user right to your Saviynt. We are bringing through the user import, or it is your authoritative source, right? Or it is a trusted reconciliation, we call it. This double S-retry job, right? Ideally, it should be triggered in all the system, what I have seen. They have mentioned like 30 to 40 minutes. Sometimes they ask also to do instant provisioning. But instant provisioning made a lot of issue actually. That is why you should have a time limit. Right? Let's say for application, you have made an instant provisioning. Instant provisioning. If you make it on rate, the double S-retry job, irrespective of your rule, it will try to trigger immediately. But what will happen if you receive a user by mystically terminated user? Let's say you have a user whose I have seen in my project also write one user is there. It's our by mystically updated the status from active to inactive. Immediately in the job brand. The job will be running 30 minutes or 1 hour. He forgot that. And those inactive information came to Saviynt. Up to here it is fine. My status is inactive. Right. I can again activate. But what happened if the instant provisioning immediately happened from Saviynt? You are managing 20 to 30 application. That means 30 account you have. Along with that, you might have 120 entitlement rate. This 30 account, you might have multiple entitlement. What will happen? Everything will be wiped out from the target system. And this 120 entitlement. It doesn't mean all the entitlement came through birthright. It is not true. Right? You might have given a request to access some directory service or some drive access. You have given a request for that. What happened? Everything is wiped out now. That is a problem. That is why we should give always a 30-minute off or 40-minute off distance to run the BUS. It rides off. A lot of thing is there if you explore right. You'll find to know, you'll come to know where you are, like BUS. It rides off right. Now the task is generated. It is not processed because I do not have any job. It is Skittle or ABUS. It rides up to pick this task. I think this system has a problem. Let me try to provision the user to the, to the advanced query. Let's see. I'll go to again BUS. It rides up. Go to utility BUS. It rides up. Click and start. Go to our once right. And 80.task key. Let me give task it, then I'll try with the first day, and I will give this task. I do only 9 for 3. 944 and 80.task key in. Submit. And let's see whether it is processing or not. In this case, what will happen? Suppose for your database training, see a database. You have 30 tasks in pending queue. But if you run through the BUS, it rides up using the connection. That's the first basic concept, right? It will try to process all your tasks, but you do not need that. You want to specifically process 2 tasks only. That time you can give the advanced condition. Let me see. And refresh it, it process right. How you are going to go to utility? In the provisioning right. Click action, click start. In the first basic, if you give database training here and specifically mention new account, it will process new account, and if you give add access, it will process add access. But in the advanced, if you write a query, right, it will process only your specific task if you want to do that. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.